Picture this: a terrifying underground concrete room. There are no windows, just absolute darkness swallowing every single corner. Maybe there's a single weak light bulb flickering for a second before it just dies. You're sitting alone on a cold, damp floor. The atmosphere feels exactly like an abandoned prison, complete with long, dramatic shadows in this eerie, heavy silence. It's like stepping straight into a psychological horror Netflix documentary, right? Well, welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack the very real, very unsettling science of total sensory deprivation.
So here's the big question. If you took a completely healthy person and dropped them into that pitch black, silent room with zero social interaction and absolutely no sense of time, what actually happens? Does your highly evolved human brain figure out a way to adapt to the shadows? Or does it slowly, inevitably, just start to break down? For this Explainer, we are looking at a timeline of exactly 30 days. That's a full month. 30 agonizing days of absolute isolation and complete darkness. And hey, before we get any deeper into this, I need to make something crystal clear. The physiological and mental impacts we're about to explore are incredibly dangerous. This is definitely not a challenge, and it's absolutely not an experiment you should ever try at home. The effects we're going to see can be severe and long-lasting.
All right, Section 1, Entering the Darkness. Let's establish our biological baseline. Okay, so it all starts right here with your circadian rhythm, your internal body clock. Every single morning of your life, sunlight hits your eyes and sends this crucial signal straight to your brain. It says, hey, time to wake up. It gets you alert, and it regulates vital hormones like cortisol and melatonin. Sunlight is quite literally the biological anchor to our reality. But when you remain in complete darkness for days on end, that natural rhythmic anchor begins to utterly fail. Think about it. Your brain has evolved to handle a constant stream of normal sensory input. Light, movement, the sound of conversations, the breeze on your skin, it craves all of that. But under total deprivation, when those everyday experiences just disappear, the brain doesn't just power down and rest. No way. Instead, mental stress immediately spikes, and that's quickly followed by creeping anxiety and this profound, heavy loneliness. Which brings us to days 1 through 7, losing time. Our terrifying descent into the darkness follows a really rapid timeline. We're talking time confusion within the first 24 hours. Then, severe cognitive decline by week 2. By week 3, terrifying hallucinations kick in, culminating in potential psychosis by week 4. Let's look closely at how this whole sequence kicks off. Within literally just 24 to 72 hours, your grip on reality begins to loosen. Without daylight or clocks, it becomes entirely impossible to know whether it's morning, afternoon, or the dead of night. Your normal sleep schedule's totally destroyed. You might find yourself sleeping at just completely random hours. The source material actually notes that some people feel overwhelmingly, constantly tired in this phase, while others get hit with absolute insomnia. They just can't sleep at all in the pitch black.
Moving on to days 8 through 14, cognitive decline. So you've been in the dark for over a week now, and your executive function rapidly decays. It starts with a complete loss of motivation. Then it evolves into this severe struggle to organize even basic thoughts. Ultimately, it leads to extreme difficulty making decisions. Your concentration and memory get incredibly weak. Tasks that once felt entirely simple and automatic suddenly become overwhelmingly, impossibly difficult. And the physical toll is just as rough. The total absence of sunlight completely halts your body's vitamin D production. Now sure, vitamin D deficiency doesn't happen overnight, but spending weeks without the sun, especially combined with a poor diet, completely drains your body's energy reserves. You are left dealing with heavy muscle weakness and this deep, inescapable fatigue. Now we enter the third week, days 15 through 21, false realities. You are in a room with zero photons of light. None. Yet, you start seeing flashes of light and moving shadows. Why? Because a starved brain, desperate for external input, will literally invent its own visual sensory stimulation out of the blackness. It creates a false reality to fill the void. It's a really frightening defense mechanism of human biology. And the hallucinations aren't just visual. Many people report hearing faint sounds, too. Voices whispering or footsteps echoing across the room, even though they are completely alone. At the exact same time, a lack of social interaction and natural light causes the serotonin activity in your brain to plummet. This is the vital brain chemical that regulates mood. Without it, you are plunged into emotional numbness, hopelessness, and uncontrollable sadness.
Which leads us to the final stretch, days 22 through 30, the breaking point.
By week 4, the symptoms compound rapidly. Your sleep cycle is severely disrupted, leaving you exhausted by day and intensely awake at night. Emotional instability and depression really take root. Intense paranoia, anxiety, and memory failure worsen. And in the most severe cases, this environment triggers violent panic attacks or symptoms that closely resemble full-blown psychosis. The risk of this is drastically higher for individuals who already have underlying mental health conditions.
You are experiencing a total dual collapse. Mentally, the brain suffers hopelessness, slower thinking, and psychosis. Meanwhile, the physical body deteriorates rapidly. Reduced physical activity leads to decreased cardiovascular fitness, profound muscular stiffness, and weight changes. Essentially, the lack of movement physically traps you inside a mind that is actively turning against you.
Now, if you think this is purely theoretical, history proves otherwise. Scientists have studied cave explorers who spent weeks living underground without daylight, and the results perfectly mirror what we've discussed. These explorers lost all sense of time, sometimes believing only a few days had passed, when in reality, they had been in the dark for several weeks. Their sleep patterns, mood, and perception of time were massively disrupted. The data is absolutely clear on this. Complete darkness, combined with prolonged isolation, is considered one of the most stressful environments for the human brain. It is a fundamental breakdown of the environment our minds require to function safely.
All right, let's talk about the aftermath in sections survival and recovery.
Let's finally unlock that heavy steel door, turn the lights back on, and bring you back to the surface. The good news? Recovery is indeed possible. Humans are remarkably resilient. But bouncing back isn't instant. After returning to normal life, some of the severe psychological effects we covered today can linger for weeks or even months. To heal properly, the human mind desperately requires exactly what was taken away: regular exposure to natural light, meaningful social contact, physical movement, and a predictable daily routine.
Which brings us to our final thought. The science clearly shows that removing a human from the light and from society fundamentally alters how their brain operates. It creates ghosts and it fractures time. So, I leave you with this. If you actually manage to survive 30 days in the dark, what part of your mind would you leave behind in that room? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.